So when you see these beautiful kids, and you see how excited they are about being Jewish and how they shine, you have aspirations as to what they are going to be. When you look at Ashley, and you see what she is doing, that is the culmination of that aspiration. And nothing can make us prouder at the Hamilton Hebrew Academy. It takes a lot of courage to stand up for the Jewish people. It takes even more courage when you have 1 million social media followers. And on October 7th, Ashley immediately realized that a new online product was actually a very old product of Jewish people and the state of Israel. Ashley gives us much pride to call you one of our own. And without further ado, Ashley Waxman Bakshi.
I'm so excited, even though I've spoken in front of the United Nations and Prime Minister Trudeau and British Parliament and the Estonian Prime Minister. I am so excited to be right in front of the stage where I performed The Girl on the Roof when I was in grade 5. So as you heard, I was born here in Hamilton and I went to the HHA, but I made LDS. So now I'm in Israeli, so this is not going to be so formal. We moved to Toronto when I was at the end of grade 7, June 23rd, 1998. It was the saddest day of my life. I cried and I cried and I cried and I didn't want to be in Toronto, so I went to Israel for the summer. And then I went to high school, and then I went to university, Wilfrid Laurier University, and that was the first time I ever experienced anti-Semitism. I didn't even know it existed in Canada. And I was 18 years old, I just turned 18, and I was offered to go on a free trip for 2 weeks to Israel on birthright. And I said, okay, why not? It's free, it's fun. And I'd been to Israel many, many times before because, like Ishai told you, my family is Israeli, even though I was born in Canada, I was very connected to Israel. And I thought I wasn't going to learn anything new on birthright. I was like, I've been everywhere. But something very, very special happened on that trip. I went to the exact locations where my father fought in the Yom Kippur War, and suddenly a lot of things started to make sense. It wasn't just where my parents were from, this is my homeland. And when I came back to my university, it was the first apartheid week in my campus. That was the first year, it was 2004, that's when apartheid week started on campus. And I remember thinking, something here doesn't seem right. Why are they calling Israel an apartheid? I was literally just there. There's no apartheid. They were talking about the wall, and I was like, well, why are they calling it a wall? It's mostly fence. And then I was like, why is somebody talking about why this fence is being built? Why is somebody talking about the suicide bombings? And for 2 years I was afraid to go to Israel. And I felt that there was a really big injustice being done to Israel on my campus. Sound familiar? This was 20 years ago. So I started a little Hezbollah group, and I called it the Laurier Israel Public Affairs Club, and there were no Jews pretty much on my campus back then. I've heard that now there's more Jews at Laurier, but I had a few evangelical students who wanted to be a part of it, and I thought that was really cool. And I did that for 2 years, and I started to read a lot of books and to learn a lot about the history of Israel. And I ended up transferring to York because I was threatened on my campus many, many times. And I honestly thought it was scary, so I moved to York where I felt like I would be protected because there were a lot of Jews. And during my final semester, the Second Lebanon War broke out. And I remember sitting at home and hearing about an American soldier, a lone soldier by the name of Michael Levine, who died, who was killed in Lebanon. And I remember looking at him and thinking, just like Johnny said before, I'm here, but there's people there giving their life. And I say I'm so Zionist, but I'm here. And I keep saying, I'm going to go one day. But now my country needs me. So I went to Israel. And I joined the Air Force. I was in combat for a few months, and then I got switched to be a commander. So I was a drill sergeant, basic training commander. And I liked it so much, I decided to go become an officer. And at that point, I had already met Idan, who is now my husband. And I was 23 years old already at that point, and he said, okay, we gotta move in together though. And so I remembered that I had a university degree, and I told the Army I have a university degree. And that way I got placed in a very special position where I sold jets, engines, and courses to foreign armies and to foreign air forces. So for example, Colombia, that just stabbed a knife in our back, I actually sold them the Phantom F-4 planes. While I was there, I did my master's degree in counterterrorism and homeland security, and I got pulled to work in the Ministry of Defense. That's the boring stuff. Now we're getting into the fun stuff. While I was at the ministry, I always liked makeup. I looked online, there were no beauty tutorials in Hebrew. I was like, I'm gonna put one out, and the rest is history. I got a lot of followers. I decided to leave the ministry, and I started hosting TV shows and doing a whole bunch of other stuff, started my company, and always knew deep in my heart that my social media would eventually be used for Israel. Because I knew what was happening online. I could see it. I had seen it on my campus. I had seen how students were being paid to be students. They weren't even going to class. They were on university campuses in Canada for over 12 years, being funded to be there, not going to class, but to be there only to protest. I knew what was happening. And so I knew my social media would have to be used for Israel. I just never knew how and when. And in May 2021, when we had Operation Guardian of the Walls, it was actually Bella Hadid. If there's something I can say thank you to her for, it's this. It was the lies that she was posting on Instagram that I saw that made me feel like the time is now. So I started posting about Israel, and it was about 50-50 beauty content and Israel content until October 7th. And then, of course, since October 7th, it's been 100% of what I do. Ishai told you about our cousin, Agam, who was taken hostage. She's a female soldier. She was in the video that was released just 2 weeks ago. You can see her there. They're asking her, where are you from? She says Tel Aviv. She was so frightened. She's not from Tel Aviv. She's from Hulon. She just didn't know what to say. So I've been very involved with the Mate, with the Family Forum, and with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who heard me speak at the United Nations and said, pretty good, you should come and join us. And I've also been working closely with the Raoul Wallenberg Center for Human Rights, headed by Erwin Copper, you probably know the name. And we've been working to specifically pressure Canada and the European Union to sanction 59 entities and individuals who are actually front organizations that are funneling money to Hamas, to the PFLP, and of course, funding the encampments and everything that you're seeing. You know, the protests in front of the shuls, they're being paid to be there. One of these organizations you may have heard is called Sandy Dune. Just so you understand a little bit about what's going on in the world. They were actually kicked out and banned from Germany. Where did they open up shop? Vancouver. So this is what's happening in Canada. As a Canadian, I feel like I have a very special role in this world right now because I'm Israeli and I'm Canadian, and I feel like I need to be the bridge between the Jewish community here in Canada and what is happening in Israel. I'm happy to say that I saw a really big spike in followers in Canada, so that's really exciting. And I've been making a lot of content speaking specifically about the situation in Canada as well. It's important for people to understand that everything that we're seeing right now on social media and the encampments, for example, we know that that is the loud minority. We know that there is a very silent majority. And people are afraid. I get messages all the time of people writing to me saying, hey, I'm from Italy, hey, I'm from Indonesia, hey, I'm from India. I'm afraid to post that I'm pro-Israel, but I am. I just want you to know that I am. So they're out there. What can we do as a community strengthening those voices. And so I urge you to reach out to all your friends who are not part of the Jewish community and ask them to be allies. Explain to them the situation that we're in, because a lot of the times people are busy with their everyday life and they don't realize how we all take it so personally, everything that's happening right now in the world. And I think what a lot of people, even the Jewish diaspora, I think what they didn't understand until October 7th is I think they always felt that we are a Jewish diaspora and there are Israelis. And I think since October 7th, everyone feels Israeli. We all understand that we're We all understand that when Israel is in danger, every Jew is in danger. And growing up here at the HHA, of course, we were raised with Zionism and a little bit of the history of Israel. But if there's something that I'd like to bring to the attention of everyone in the room today, especially when educating the future generations, and it's something that I've really noticed being a Canadian and then making Aliyah. The focus of Jewish education and the Zionist education here in North America is primarily from a very Ashkenazi mindset. And it makes sense because the majority of Jews are of Ashkenazi descent. So we spoke very heavily about the Holocaust, which of course is important. But today, June 2nd, actually marks the anniversary of the Farhud in Baghdad. And there are many, I'm sure I don't need to tell you, because everyone in this room knows the history of the Jewish people, no matter where they were from. But I think that this is why, one of the reasons why we are seeing that we are being called white colonizers. Because people on university campuses, if they've ever seen a Jew, they've seen an Ashkenaz Jew. That's all they've ever seen. We have to teach our children the story of the entire Jewish nation. Everyone. Unfortunately, we also fall into the trap of legitimizing the other side because of political correctness. And I want to urge you, I know it's scary in Canada. I told you, I'm not Israeli, so I'm definitely not politically correct anymore. But I know what it's like to be Canadian and to feel like you need to be. But the political correctness is what is killing us. Because the second we start using their terms that were specifically calculated, and it's a very calculated narrative that is pushed, of course, by Qatari money and the Iranian regime. And of course, we know that there is Russian propaganda, Soviet propaganda involved in it as well. The second we start using their terms, we lose all credibility. When we say things like, of course we want a two-state solution, people need to understand that we wanted a two-state solution. And there were many two-state solutions. But the West, America, for example, cannot keep imposing on the Middle East something that both sides in the Middle East don't want. Both sides don't want. We are not prepared right now for the classic two-state solution that we were talking about in the 90s. It would have happened in Oslo, wonderful, but it didn't. And so we cannot keep talking about things about how we spoke about them in the 90s. Things have changed. Of course, we still advocate for peace. We want peace with our neighbors. But the words we use are important. And let me remind you that if you open a map, just today I posted on my social media video, a map of Palestine from 1837, and everything on that map was the 12 tribes, Zion. This is our history. We are indigenous to the land of Israel, and nobody can take that away from us. If anybody tries to tell you that we need a two-state solution, remind them of history, because people don't know. And if you don't know, it's okay. Follow me on Instagram and you will know. 1937, Hill Commission, we said yes, they said no. 1947, we said yes, they said no. 1967, they said no. Not only that, the Arab League stated its 3 no's, which hold to this day. Do you all know them? Who doesn't know the 3 no's? Raise your hand. Don't be shy. No recognition of the state of Israel, no negotiation with Israel, and no peace. And to this day, that is what guides them. Call people out, because they don't know that. The young generation, I think it's so important, and I find it so meaningful that I'm here today, because I never in my wildest dreams I never made the connection of how the Jewish education, the Zionist education that I received here, I'd actually do something with it. When we're kids, we just think, oh yeah, okay, like we got it. I remember Rabbi Eisenstein used to teach us like Gemara. Like, what am I ever going to do with this? The young generation needs to know. They need to know who we are. And that Judaism is not just a religion. We are an ethnic group. We are a minority that must be protected, and we are protected by Hashem. We have been protected for 5,000 years. The children need to know about the lies that are being spread about Israel. And I tell you this from personal stories of Jewish kids, just like me, that went to Jewish day school, just like me, and Jewish summer camp, just like me, but then somehow it infiltrated to them as well. And I can tell you this because even I had a moment in time where I had seen so many things on my university campus that I started asking myself, well maybe there is a genocide. And I can tell you that the best answer that I got for myself was moving to Israel. Because I know there's certainly no genocide. My husband employs 100 Palestinians. When they talk about boycotting from the West Bank, the only thing boycott from the West Bank hurts are Palestinians. So the children need to know about that it's lies. So how do they know? What's the best way to show them that these are lies? Is bring them to Israel. Bring them. They need to come. I know it's expensive. LL is ridiculous. You don't have Air Canada right now. I know, but they need to come. And bring them to Be'eri, to Kfar Aza, to Nahal Oz. I know it's difficult, obviously, from a certain age. Okay, I'm not saying we traumatize all our children. But just like how we take our children to Auschwitz, they need to know about our history, but they need to understand that it is happening now. We try to shelter them. We don't want them to know. But at the end of the day, they need to know. Because if they don't feel it now, when they grow up, they're going to look at it just like history. Just like when I was told about the Shoah, I looked at it as if it was just history, that it could never happen again. But as we all know, we all feel what's happening now in Canada, in the United States, in the Netherlands, in Sweden, in pretty much every country except for Czechia. This is the exact same steps that were taken before the Nazis in Bakshi got to power. And we see it. And the difference is today, we have our country, we have our sovereignty, and we have our strong army that will protect you. We are here, we as Israelis are here for you. So many people after October 7th asked me, how are you doing in Israel? My friends are calling me. My friends from the HHA are calling me and texting me, how are you? How are you? We see that there's sirens. We see that there's rockets. How are you with your cousin? And all I'm interested in is, how are you? Because we in Israel, we've all gone to the army. We've all lived through rockets. We've all lived through war. This is not new. Of course, the scale is new. But this isn't new. And we've been trained to deal. This is why we're so resilient. We've been trained to deal since kindergarten in Israel. To deal with the situation. But nobody trained you guys on how to deal with this rise of anti-Semitism. Everyone thought it was gone, it was non-existent, but it was here. It was always here. And now it's trendy. I want you all to know that the state of Israel is here to protect you. We are here for you just like you are here for us. And so, finally, I think I do want to end this with something positive. I came here just after October 7th and I spoke at the JCC in Toronto. And it was a really sad evening. And they lit candles, and it was just after October 7th, so of course we were all really in it. And they were praying, and they were crying. And I realized at that moment, what is the difference why I am now an Israeli? And I ask you all to leave the room tonight just a little bit more Israeli. What do I mean by that? I look around the world and I see the Jewish diaspora, everyone is so sad. In Israel, we are strong. The song that we just heard, beautiful children saying, Am Yisrael Chai, it's a happy song. We came out after October 7th with happy songs, with strong songs, with motivation songs, because that's how we are. Because Am Yisrael is a light to the world no matter what, and we will never let their darkness shadow our light. Never. So I ask you all to do this tonight. A little bit more Israeli, a little bit more chutzpah, a little bit less politically correctness, and trust me, you'll all feel better in the morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to thank Ashley Waxman. I can confidently say that there has not been an HHA alumnus in our 60-odd year history that has advocated and that has defended Israel the way that you have. It gives us great honor to present to you our Kochav Tzion, our Star of Zion Award. You are our Kochav You are our Star of Zion. May God give you that strength to continue to shower forth great light and to banish the darkness.
And one more thing. On behalf of the HHA PTA, we would like to give you the latest HHA swag. With this merch, you'll definitely hit 2 million followers really soon.